Dr. Mohamed Zaki is going to present the Data Diagnostic Tool, how to use data to optimize services in design and delivery. Over Mohamed, thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. Hello, everybody. So my name is Mohamed Zaki. We are presenting today some of the research that's been done here in the Cambridge Service Alliance about how organization can capitalize on the data sources that they have and do some assessments about whether they are ready to go to the data journey or not to introduce new services based on the data as a key resource. Just to put context about the talk today, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the research and what kind of case studies that we've done with industrial partners in our consortium. Then partly is the outcome, and the tool is going to be part of this conversation as well. And also at the end, I'm going to discuss some of the application of the tool as well that we've been used with one of our industrial partners. So there's been interest with, many organizations, many manufacturing specifically, that they would like to move to the world of solutions and services. They try to find some opportunities when they are using their data to come up with new solutions. So we have around 6 cases that we are used to develop these tools. One of them were the education cases, which is about competency-based model represented by person who were moved from the publishing books into more educational consultancy. And here they try to come up with a different model of educations and training, which is related how students not going to the different mode, to the general mode of education, but actually use some competency-based model. And here, the competency-based model is about how students could not going only just for exams, but how to be competent in the topic. So it's not about question about you go and get educated or trained, but actually is how you be competent about the topic. And here the role of the data is actually, because everything is being digitalized into their platform, it will be easy to collect all the data or the behavior of the students over the platform to understand what things he's interested in these topics and specific topic that he's get educated of, or what things he's missing, and how the tutor could intervene and help. So they build a platform just to monitor students in their education or in their training, and basically try to understand where the capabilities of the students are, and where are the missing opportunities that could allow the tutor to help them there. Also for Caterpillar, so we collected a couple of cases of condition monitoring solutions. So actually Caterpillar now try to monitor the assets of their customers just to understand where are the failures of a specific parts of the machine, just to allow them as a way to help their customers to operate better, and also as well to generate some revenue stream out of it. Then the last case, it's about BE systems, which is about availability contracts. So because BE systems are supporting aircrafts and ships, huge ships as well. So and there's an availability contract between them and the MOD that allow them to try to do the maintenance in a proactive way. So the data here is playing a big role again to monitoring these assets. So when we did these case studies, we're trying to see where are the maturity of these organizations and where are the early adapters. And the outcome of this research is come up with a framework to allow us where are the barriers that these organizations, when they are tapped into the data services, where are these kind of barriers, what are these barriers are, and how they overcome these barriers. And we come up with these patterns. So the framework here, it just covers different issues and also practices. So this is just an abstract or a general issues, but there are a lot of details under these issues. So you have soft issues, which comes to a culture issues. So because we are, as an organization, it could be a culture is a big problem because we meant to be, for example, a manufacturer who is producing boxes to move to the solution world, to move to the data solution world, is not in our competency. And this could allow a lot of tensions internally inside your organization. And also how the people could do that vision, for example, we are moving to more IT-enabled organizations, and how we can do this. There's a lot of tension in this issue specifically. Still, there is a lot of people issues as well, like data scientists, what we mean about data scientists, if we're going to move on this in that world, and how we acquire the most appropriate people to allow us to implement this strategy. Then collaborations, we're not working alone in that world. We're working with other stakeholders, and we're working with our customers as well. So how we can collaborate better. So there's a lot of issues that came up from these cases around the soft part, which is it tend to be in many organizations. When we tested with our partners in different contexts, we found that soft issues are the biggest barriers basically face these organizations to adapt with the data analytics world. Then you've got some hard issues as well, which is more about technical issues. Whether we have the data in our organizations, do we need, if we're going to build this analytics capabilities or a solution capabilities, do we need an external data as well, which could come from our customers, or could come from other people we collaborate with, the network of stakeholders that we collaborate in day-to-day operation. And you can see a lot of data availability, information governance, also sometimes about ownership, because it tend to be in B2B context, we have the customers as well. So we have a direct communication with our customer, but we have a problem about collecting data from our customer, from the customer of our customers, basically. Then it tends to be the data privacy problem, security, and also what kind of analytics are we going very sophisticated into the prescriptive or predictive analytics, or we just simple analytics could allow us to do the service right and good for our customers. But tend to be as well, there are other external issues that organizations are facing when they started to come up with the solutions based on the data. Something about legal and ethical issues, whether our customers perceive the value or not. So sometimes, some of our collaborators basically try to say, well, we can build a nice dashboards based on data. We can come up with fascinating analytics, but the problem is the brand make a lot of effect. For example, the customers perceive us as a manufacturer, not as a data provider, and also sometimes is the customer doesn't get it and doesn't want to pay extra money for this solution, for example. So based on this, we came up with a lot of practices as well. In each of these dimensions, as I said, there is a lot of dimensions. Happy if anyone interested to share that with him. But then just an example about how we learned as well from this organization, how they overcome these practices, basically. So just as an example, how resistant, for example, you can find as a culture problem, it's a huge issue. So what things, these organizations try to do to solve that problem. So one of the things is actually political work has to start first before introducing any technology. And this is come up with a clear vision from the top management, awareness between the organization. We have to be in innovative services, actually communicate with different business units, find the collaborative way between you and your customers or your service network, and also try to share some best practices. There is an element as well of a structure, so whether we should appoint a CIO in our organization or a data officers who should be account for all this information about governance program. So we found different practices. The organization are trying, but this is like a list of some of the practices that some of the organization managed to overcome the resistance specifically. But as I said, it's just an example about these practices, but every dimension, which is a huge list of issues and practices, are being listed in these tools. The tool now comes to the point. So after we came up with this framework from all the data that we collected, we tried to see, okay, how we can help our partner pack to build any data services or help them to assess their situations when it comes to a data selection. So one of the things we thought about is building this tool, which is we call it Data Diagnostic Tool. And the objective of this data diagnostic tool, if you are a business, if you have a function or a business unit within your organization, thinking about I want to improve my delivery of a product or a delivery of a service, and we think about these new ideas. Are we ready to do this? So this is, if you can think about this assessment tool that help you, where are your gaps and where things you should focus more, and where are the practices that you are following and where are the practices you are not following, and you can learn from the tool about this. And you can see the structure of the tool. It's just an assessment way. So you can see in the bottom bar all the issues that these organizations it came from the data diagnostic framework I just presented, which is all the issues and practices that is being listed by these cases studies to overcome, and also the barrier that they face. And the way it structures, you can see there is a box on the top, which is about the issues. And the second part of the first column is about the practices. So if you have a resistant problem, you can think about what are the practices in the below that you are trying to adapt. And as I said, you can think about as a small business unit within your organization, or you can think of as well as a strategy for the whole organizations to see where are their problems and where are the practices they should consider. Then the assessment itself, it's been designed into two columns. You can see what things we're considering now, and there is a scale between 1 to 5, which is unimportance of that issue or practice, all the way to 5, which is very important. Then it goes to this item, for example, this practice or this issue, actually we didn't think of before. Actually, we should think it in the future, which is the second column, which is about this should consider as. Then you can see the assessment here is about the gap between what we have now and what we should consider in the future. This has come up with comes up with a list of scores, which is being designed to have like a traffic light kind of coloring. So you can see the red, which is between 4 and 5. You can see the medium is about the yellowish part, which is 2 and 3, and then 0 is the greeny part, and minuses, which is the overestimate. So sometimes organizations actually do a lot in one of these items. So actually you might need to think about when it comes to minuses, how can I balance my effort in other items that actually are red? So actually we've done a lot in one item. So actually we should think more about the reds and the yellows part. The level of analysis after that, after you do this assessment, so the way we've done it with our partners actually, so is actually we go and do this survey. So we give them the tools, we do even an interview with them or a workshop type of scenario, and a list of different stakeholders or different people from different business unit or whoever allocated to that project or to that idea, basically give his scores and try to answer these surveys, and the assessment automatically come up with this analysis. So the first one is about priorities dashboard, which is give you a list of the high and medium issues and practices that you should consider in the future. And also the overall gap assessments, which is allowing you to give you the analysis between the current issues and practice and the things that should be considered. It's and the overall gap assessment is a spider diagram, basically, that allow you to see where are the highest gap and where are the lowest gap, etc. Then in terms of the practices, because of the scores going to come out from the practices as well, not only from the issues, you can dig in details to see where are your lowest gap as a practices, and basically it should be a follow-up after this assessment to see how you can, dig in details in the practice in itself. And as I said, the balance indicator here, if it comes to the minuses, that's mean you do a lot in these issues and practices, and how you take that, to lower that grade basically, and try to concentrate and focus more into the high gap and the highest gaps basically in this assessment. So this is an example about the priorities dashboard. So you can see here, so that's, for example, it's an average between all the people inside a room, for example, or done these surveys. And an average score going to come up to see you it's like, we have these issues, yes, 5, 5, 4. You can see the reds start to come up and the mediums as well. And as I said, it's going to be an automatic kind of dashboard. It's going to allow you to see where things you should focus in the future. Also, this is the overall gap assessment. So this is a spider diagram. This is second analysis. So you can see in that diagram, there is a problem of perceived value, because the gap between the current issues assessment and the future issues direction is quite high. So now is a questions to follow up with the people who are going to sponsor this assessment, how we can lower this gap specifically. It's not only for the issues only, but also for practices. Are we considering these practices to overcome these issues? So again, you can see the gaps between the issue, the current practices, and the future, the things that we should consider. And then going to the detailed gap analysis, which is the third level of analysis here. So actually, you can go now and see, well, we're doing fine when it comes to 1 and 0s, but it looks like we're not doing great in terms of 4 and 2 or 3. So that means we need to consider this, and actually we should think as an organization or as a business unit, what things we should take from these assessments and focus in the future as well. So now it's a questions about how you can use it. So this is just a demonstration about, it's like where this comes from, so it's based on, like we said, about the case studies that we collected on different industrial partners, what are their issues, how they overcome it, what kind of practices or leading practices they consider and make them solve the problem. Now the tools are ready, so we have it, so you can take it, or you can ask our help as well in these considerations. And basically, if you have a future data service you want to think of, and you need to think, actually, are we ready to go for it? That could be one of the tools that could help you to assess this situation. And the outcome of this, you're going to use, the method here is actually a survey approach using this tool, or actually we could do an interviews or a workshops, and we could score these different items, and automatically this level of analysis will come out for you as an outcome, so you can take it and see how you can benefit from it in your implementation of data services. We've got on the bottom good feedback about some of the partners that use these diagnostic tools to help them to navigate and map their way into the data world. This is just an example. So one of our industrial partners, which is called Zoetis. Zoetis is, for the people who doesn't know, is an animal health organization, wanted to come up with a data solution, basically based on one of the diagnostic labs they have as a machine to go to the customers, and they wanted to investigate whether they can use the data that comes from machines to come up with some dashboards or a consultancy solutions out of it based on the data that they can collect. And you can see, for example, this is one of the issues, for example, just for the administration, how the scores are going. For example, they have a lot of problems in data sources availability, and you can see a list of textual as well information from the different stakeholders involved in that project to explain why they gave these scores. So we don't just leave the stakeholders when we do the assessments to just put a score. Actually, we try as well through an interview or the workshop to understand why they give these scores, just to report back to the people that are concerned about this issue, and try to help help them. And interestingly enough, we sometimes you feel that the views of your employees are really scattered and different. So actually, some of the in this case, for example, people say we didn't know that our employee are complaining about this. So for as an example. So, and then as an outcome, you can see this is part of the Zoetis gap assessment issues. For example, you can see a lot of problem in data source availability, information governance, and in the bottom, you can see the gaps where it comes from between the issues that currently we have and the issues that we should consider in the future. That is really me, just to show you how we use these tools specifically in some of the organizations that we used in our consortium.